Life is to me an open book, one that I am always reading and always understanding. I have come to a place in my own understanding where all things make sense to me. The days of doubts and uncertainties are far behind me, as I now see clearly and with great foresight. What life is in its entirety, I am in the process of seeing and understanding at all times. I always live on a very high pinnacle of sight, and everything is open to my gaze. Life to me is transparent, as that which I call my sight is registering both the inner and outer dimensions of all that I choose to notice. Open sight for me is a constant experience, and one that I am totally comfortable with. Sight itself, as an aspect of God's mind, is my constant condition. Sight, sight, sight. Sight is the constant nature of God. I see what sight is, and I am seeing through and through. I myself am transparent, and as a transparent being, I also see through all things. My pineal and pituitary glands, fully activated and functioning, are the organs of my inner sight and higher perception. These organs are developing at a very quick rate within me. I am not only aware of it, I am producing it. There is nothing and nowhere that the sight of God does not penetrate, and I am that sight in action. Whereas I used to understand sight as a faculty of perception, I now see it as a constant in the universe. There is always sight. There has always been sight. There will always be sight. Sight is unlimited and eternal. And I am now in the consciousness of this unlimited and eternal sight. I understand how sight has been misunderstood by the evolutions of this earth for centuries. And I also understand how the choice to see is simply the choice to be. Sight is existence. Existence is sight. One does not exist without the other. My understanding of sight is fully expanded, yet always expanding. I am an aspect of the appreciation of sight. As I appreciate sight, I become sight, and one who is sighted. As I keep my attention upon the sight of the universe, that attention merges into the infinite, and indeed and forever I am unlimited sight. I see sight not as an aspect of myself, but as the totality of myself. For what I see is, and all that is, first is seen. I see sight, therefore, as a precursor of creation, and so closer, infinitely closer to the very essence of God. As my appreciation of sight grows, so also does my sight itself. I see as God sees. I see God as seeing all things. I now accept the changes that sight brings, and I am always seeing change everywhere. In the physical universe, all things can be seen, and those in full use of the faculty of clairvoyance are the living proof of this truth. It is my choice then to be in this awareness. It is my choice then to see all things clearly and at will. My entire being is committed to seeing, beyond the average human concept of what can be seen. I accept my sight in my mind, in my body, and in my soul. And my choice to see is an eternal one. Sight is forever, and so am I. The two are one. Sight, I see now, is of consciousness, of the mind, and not limited to the impressions that might register upon my physical eyeballs. Though my physical eyes are the organs of physical sight, they but facilitate a small fraction of that which I truly am seeing. My physical sight allows me to function normally within the physical domain, freely moving about. But my greater sight is that which moves me forward in time and space, in consciousness and in life. I am even now seeing things which I had previously thought impossible to see. And tomorrow I shall yet see more. I am in fact in the midst of an ever-compounding vortex of sight. And this is my eternal destiny, to see. Clairvoyance, though seemingly beyond physical sight, is my natural state of mind. Anything less than clairvoyance, therefore, is an abnormal handicap, and not a choice I choose to make. My understanding, according to my sight, is unlimited, for the two are one. For me, to see the past and to see the future is as natural as breathing. For me, the past and the future are an open book, easily read at a glance. I acknowledge now fully how it is that all enlightened beings that have ever visited this planet have simply been enlightened in that they were sighted beyond the norm. And so at last I understand what previously had been the mystery of sight, but now is no more. The veils are gone, the window is open, my mind is free, and all things I see. This lovely understanding is my constant state of being, now and forever. I am sight itself, wherever I move, wherever I live, wherever I am. And in that I am sighted, I am sighting others. All of life is benefited in sight and by sight, and I am that benefiting sight everywhere I move. Yes, to have contact with me is to have contact with eternal sight. And so, on the physical plane, I am constantly functioning as a blessing unto all of life, for I am sighting all of life. Where I am, sight is and remains. Where I am, sight is always expanding. And I have but to will greater sight anywhere for it to occur. My will itself is but another aspect of my sight. My sight and my will are as one. And in that I am and have eternal sight, so I am and have eternal will. The sight that I am brings healing. And for this reason, simply to gaze upon my countenance is to be healed. I am indeed the healing vision, constantly giving, constantly receiving, the healing that is sight. My sight, which is my awareness, is always wherever I choose to focus it. And it is an easy matter for me to see anywhere, on any plane, at any time. I can clearly see that a conspiracy of sorts to keep the evolutions of Earth in a state of temporary blindness has now run its course and is done and finished. I can also see that I am part of the reversing of that tide, restoring sight to the blind, restoring sight even to the sighted, that greater sight might result. Sight is as a mighty wave of light enveloping this planet, stronger and stronger with every passing second. And as I see all of life in a more sighted condition, I am simultaneously creating that condition, and I am giving sight unto the planet. That which is called the Kundalini force within me is now activated and fully functioning in perfect sight. My sight, being constant, functions constantly on this plane or on the dimension right beyond that of Earth, and I pass easily between the two worlds, whether my body is awake or asleep. With every breath I take, my sight is more expansive and all-inclusive, and at last I see that I am indeed God in the act of seeing.